Hello, huge movie fanatic coming at you again in very early January 2016 with another movie review or quote unquote movie review for the movie Trainwreck. that's my John Candy impression from Trains, Planes, and Automobiles, but referring to in this case the main character of this movie, this whoever the hell this chick is, relatively annoying individual who's way too good at acting drunk, um, by the name of Amy something or other. So I've actually seen all the Judd Apatow movies that he directed. I don't really like to admit it necessarily, but I'm kind of a, I'm not a huge fan, but some parts of some of his movies are funny and shit. I mean, I think Knocked Up I think it's pretty funny, I think the characters, in particular in that movie are Seth Rogen and Katherine Heigl are interesting to watch, and, you know, um, so long story short, I kind of a little bit of a fan, although I hate to admit it, don't tell anyone, of, a little bit of a fan of the Judd Apatow movies. I've seen them all, all the ones he's done. Reviewed everything on here except like a 40-year-old version, Knocked Up, and Funny People, which I guess is only one of them. Before this, which is, Trainwreck. I think that's all he's made, correct? 40-year-old version, Knocked Up, Funny People, This Is 40, and now Trainwreck, if I'm correct. Me and Matt have reviewed This Is 40 if you want to check that out. But the whole reason I saw this is because, like I say, I'm kind of a fan of Judd Apatow's, some of his stuff before, primarily, like, I think, whatchamacallit, his best stuff is probably his first three movies, Knocked Up and Funny People probably being my favorite of his. So, and as you saw, if you saw the review me and Matt did of This Is 40, I think me and Matt and other people included kind of agreed with the fact that This Is 40 was a little bit of like, I don't know, Judd Apatow just, a little bit of a miss. Really not. It's almost like he couldn't get any big stars, so we'll just make a movie about these side characters that were in Knocked Up, and which is fine. Paul Rudd's fun to watch, whatever, he's likable, and even his annoying wife was kind of, as much as I really don't like to watch her, she's kind of funny, whatever. So, This Is 40 kind of gets a pass just because, and then to see his dollars continually grow. We saw them first in Knocked Up, I believe, and then again in Funny People, and then of course continue to grow in This Is 40. And this is the first movie I think that he's made without his wife in it. Like, his wife was in 40-year-old virgin, and of course his wife and daughters were in the other movies, and this is the first movie without his wife or daughters, so there's something for you to know about. And this, in my opinion, is Judd Apatow's worst movie as far as, being a director. I just think it's even worse than This Is 40, in my opinion. The first, half of it is just like this trashy woman who's just drunk, and just this train wreck of a woman who just drunk and alcoholic and sleeps around and all this shit and just nasty. And actually, so the only reason I saw this is because of a Judd Apatow movie and stuff like that. So first of all, let me say there's absolutely no one as far as a performer in this movie. Unlike his other movies, where if you got, even Adam Sandler's good in Funny People. He's pretty great in Funny People. You have not only Adam Sandler, but Seth Rogen in Funny People. You got Seth Rogen, and obviously in Knocked Up, and so basically what I'm trying to say is, and for me, in all the previous Judd Apatow movies that he directed, there was always at least someone, most of the time more than one person, that's enjoyable for me to watch, on screen. Even if it's just Paul Rudd and his wife and his two daughters, it's someone interesting to watch. In this movie, there was no one, in my opinion, that was interesting to watch. Maybe the little sister was probably the most enjoyable person to watch in this movie. Everyone else for me, her dad, the character of her. I'm not a big fan of that guy the doctor who she ended up being romantically involved with. I don't like that guy. who just had a bit part in Knocked Up, as the guy who edited or worked at the news station or whatever. I don't know his name. I'm not a big fan of that guy. I'm not a fan of any of the cast in this movie. So that's probably a reason why I don't necessarily like it. I just think the subject matter is trashy, just kind of just this trashy woman just being trashy, and just this bitch of a newspaper woman who's just whatever. One thing I do agree with is what the main character, Amy, whatever her name is, said towards the beginning of the movie about sports. That, I nodded, I'm like, yeah, I completely agree with that. If you've seen the movie where she talks about sports and what she thinks about people who are sports fans, it's very much, well, it's basically, I'd show that scene on here, but I don't know where I'd get it, and I don't want to get copyright flagged, but if you've seen the movie, you'll know what I'm talking about so yeah, maybe that's why I'm giving this movie 1 star, which is what I'm giving it. I see on the piece of paper, I see a 1 next to the title Trainwreck. So long story short, I will give this movie 1 star, which is only half of, is half of what I gave. This is 40, which I think I gave 2 stars for. It's, in my opinion, Judd Apatow's worst movie. Really not a whole lot of redeemingness about it. It's amazing how it's just basically a bunch of nonsense that very much like, I guess, Knocked Up in a way, but at least Knocked Up, it kind of comes together in this way at the end, which is kind of heartfelt or whatever. And one thing that I've probably mentioned 1,000 times before that I'll mention again right now about these rom-com kinds of movies is they always follow the exact same formula in the last fourth of the movie, where something that's going good, all of a sudden they look like it's going to end or they're going to split up, only, to just mope around for like maybe, and in some cases as little as 5 minutes or less, only to have them reconnect again with the happy, them back together, happy climax ending, which is, to be honest, when I went into this movie and the trailers and stuff, it doesn't come across as being a romantic comedy. I had no idea that, she ends up it ends up being like a romantic relationship with her and that guy from, the editor of the guy from Knocked Up, who had the bit, who did the Jabba impression of the getting strangled thing. So when I saw this and I just went into the old rom-com formula of, not intending to fall in love and then having this is going great and I'm afraid of it, I like him so much, and then all of a sudden, it falls through, only to just rebound again, and literally in a frickin' basketball court rebounds. So at the end, following the by the numbers fricking rom-com formula, which you probably are not going to see a romantic comedy without seeing that happen, which I think is really lame, that you can't just, whatever. But that not only happens in romantic comedies, but also other kinds of movies as well, where it's all going great, falls only to end fantastic. Pardon me, it's just, gosh darn it, it's just kind of lame. So every time it falls apart and I'm watching it, it's just like, okay, well, it's going to end happy, so there you go. I really hope there's one of these romantic comedies out there that actually goes like this and just goes down and never recovers, no happy ending, because that'd be a nice twist and also maybe a little realistic in some regards. So 1 star out of 4 for Trainwreck. I think the title is very telling in what this movie is, of course. I think the movie in general is a train wreck. Very little to no funny stuff in my opinion, although, I regard it, as I never said yet in this review, but this is a movie that I would heavily place into what I regard as a corporate comedy category, which is, like I said in my review of Four Christmases, this is exactly what falls into it, the kind of Judd Apatow, just raunchy ass, ghetto, just trashy humor shit, and features no one that's of any interest except maybe Matthew Broderick in a little just part playing himself and shit. Watch the bloopers, they're funnier than the whole goddamn movie, where you have that sports announcer guy trying to remember the title of Project X movie. It's just like, God, you see the behind the scenes, and these people, that are responsible and a part of making these movies are so stupid. You wonder why these movies turn out to be shit. I mean, it's no wonder why. So watch the bloopers if you know, they're probably on YouTube. Those are shorter and funnier than the movie. That's another thing. He like, I don't think there's one Judd Apatow movie that's like less than 2 hours long. Like, why does it have to be so long? And you look at all the bloopers, and there's all these scenes that weren't even, like, locations and scenes and characters that aren't even in the final movie. They probably filmed like a month's worth of frickin' footage and only cut together like the best stuff, which I only laughed like once at in the whole 2 hours. So that's my review of Trainwreck. It's a veritable train wreck. You get it? I think that'll do it. So as to not wear out my welcome, I think I'll end the review right there. Thank you very much for watching. Let's see what the next Judd Apatow movie is. Maybe he can get a more obnoxious, more trashy, you know, woman even than this woman to play the part of someone trashy. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.